A weary-looking Donald Trump leaving for a rare weekend visit to Camp David, the presidential country retreat. The weekend getaway as criticism grows over his administration's handling of the pandemic, with close to 90,000 deaths and unemployment spiraling to almost 15%.
It was the greatest political crime in the history of our country.
In a pre-recorded interview broadcast today, a rambling President Trump did not focus on the coronavirus pandemic and its impact on America.
The president knew everything. President Obama and Vice President Biden, they knew everything.
It was all about him, or more precisely, a Democratic plot, as he sees it, to undermine his presidency.
If this happened to Obama instead of to me, you know what? Everybody would be in jail for years already, for years. It's a disgraceful thing.
We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore.
For his critics, it's President Trump who's acting disgracefully, creating constant distractions like this, tweeting a bizarre mashup from the film Independence Day.
We're fighting for our right to live.
Where a US president takes on a crisis and wins. The reality, according to his predecessor, is far from it.
More than anything, this pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing. A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge. If the world's going to get better, it's going to be up to you.
Barack Obama made his comments during an online speech to college graduates, breaking with convention with his most direct criticism of the presidential incumbent yet. During a visit to Pennsylvania this week, large crowds of his supporters turned out, but no sign of any social distancing. As the president toured a mask distribution center, his face appeared to be one of the few that was uncovered. In another example of the president's mixed messaging, the commander-in-chief tweeted support for these great people. Here harassing a journalist in New York State covering a protest.
You are the enemy of the people!
Against a shutdown.
We know it. You are fake news. We know about your liberal agenda. We know
that his own health experts continue to support. But the reality on the ground is that this matters. 72 people who attended this anti-shutdown protest just over 3 weeks ago in Wisconsin have now tested positive for COVID-19. And in Texas, just 2 weeks after the Republican governor allowed retail businesses to reopen, the state yesterday reported its largest one-day spike of new cases. As ever, President Trump is ready with a message for his critics.
As we have the cards for the American people, I know what they want, and I've always known what they want. That's why I'm sitting here.
But as US infections and deaths continue to climb amid conflicting messaging, is this really a president with his finger on the pulse?
Well, Tanzania's president, who's been described as the Trump of East Africa, has been making some bizarre pronouncements on coronavirus. At a church service today, President John Magufuli said prayers had succeeded in reducing the number of COVID cases, although no data has been released for 2 weeks. Jamal Osman reports.
Pawpaw fruits and goats, both testing positive for coronavirus. Welcome to the strange world of President Magufuli of Tanzania.
Tulichukua sample za mbuzi, tukachukua sample za kondoo, tukachukua sample za papai.
A coronavirus skeptic, Mr. Magufuli, who has a doctorate in chemistry, says he instructed his security forces to send non-human samples to be tested. Labeled with fake names, he claims they came back positive. Proof, he says, that the tests imported from abroad are faulty. A claim rejected by the Africa Centers for Disease Control. Critics say this is all part of his strategy to downplay the virus. As the first cases were reported back in March, the government here did initially shut down schools and banned most mass gatherings. But the president rejected the idea of a more severe lockdown, saying the country simply could not afford it.
The president's argument is about the economy, but you can rebuild the economy, but you cannot bring back people to life after they have died. And this is what the president of Ghana said. So it is so important for the government of Tanzania to strictly follow WHO guidelines.
Live on the streets here, continues as before. Markets, mosques and churches remain stubbornly open. And the government has been criticized for its secretive approach to COVID-19.
There's information on social media saying the government is hiding statistics. There are many deaths. I asked the government to give us accurate information if a disease is really dangerous.
Most African countries release daily infection and death tolls, but Tanzania's have come in drips and drabs. So far, only 21 deaths have been officially linked to the virus, but many think the problem could be much worse. Videos like these fuel suspicions of a government cover-up, nighttime secret burials of people who allegedly died of COVID-19. The virus-ridden paupers aren't the only controversial claim made by the president. A devout Catholic, Mr. Magufuli, claimed the virus could not live in the body of Christ, saying it would burn up instantly, and announced 3 days of national prayers to fight COVID-19.
Your Excellency.
Tanzania is also placing its faith in a plant-based cure for COVID-19, a tonic made in Madagascar that has not undergone any internationally recognized scientific testing. This hasn't stopped the government ordering a huge consignment they intend to hand out for free.
Johnny Pombe Joseph Magufuli.
For some, President Magufuli is becoming a laughing stock. They call him the Donald Trump of Africa. But for his followers, he's the only leader talking sense.